Did I tell you about your wedding?
Oh no.
The night of the night we went out to Whitehorse, I was going to take a shower. So I'm walking through the room in my underwear and just like being a dick to Elizabeth because she's trying to get ready. So she looks over at one point and I go, hey, what do you think about this? And I just immediately stop and I'm like, whoo, that fart came with a prize. I'd better Frankenstein it straight to the toilet. And I just waddled away sideways, scuttling like an ashamed crab, right in the shower. Do not pass go. Do not take the trousers off. Bloodbath. I threw those underwear away.
That was in that really nice Airbnb.
Yep.
Hello, welcome back. It is week 170 on Out on That Line podcast. I'm Jeff with my co-host, as always, Alex. And we also have another special guest this week. Tanner is back on the pod to talk a little Caroline Rose and Year of the Slug. And Tanner, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm great. Wow, tossed right to me. I'm good. Nice up here, in Vermont, frigid, as usual. Excited to talk some Slug. I feel like there might be some sort of bad stuff coming my way here in a little bit, judging by how this was pitched to me, but we're going to go ahead and just ride with it.
I can promise, and you can take it for what it is. I do not have a prank planned on you today. Alex, how are we doing this week?
Well, I also assumed that Jeff had some kind of torturous prank planned and that he just wasn't letting me in on it, which meant it could go one of two ways. It was either some Grateful Dead slams or it was going to be some kind of fish stuff that he knew I would pick up and run with on the fly. But it appears we have a truly honest episode for today.
Well, I believe this is album number 3 from Caroline Rose on this podcast. Is that correct, Alex?
That is correct.
We did the second one. So we did Superstar. You'll have to remind me the name of the second one that we did.
The Art of Forgetting.
The Art of that was not a bit, folks.
Hey, wow!
Back-to-back teed up stuff.
Yeah, very well could have been a bit. Was not a bit. And then this one, Year of the Slug. So definitely very different from the other albums. I think this was much more. In fact, I was like, the first couple songs after you click that Bandcamp link, because it's not on Spotify or anything, the first couple songs, and you're like, wait, is this the right album? Am I hearing the right thing? Because the vocals is clearly a male-led vocal, or at least sounds that way. And then you really get into the album, and I was hearing a lot of like Bright Eyes in this album, like a little bit of Elliott Smith, like that very just subdued, very stripped back. It sounded like it was recorded on like a 4-track recorder. Just overall a very different experience from the other albums we've done by her, when she's been more focused, I think, on, I don't want to say like the hyper pop, but definitely like the dream pop, like the kind of psychedelic pop side of things. Did that stuff very, very well. And then this album was just a huge departure from that. Just much more of like the California sort of vibe than I think those other albums had been.
So, not to immediately throw it to you and put you on the spot, Tanner, but I feel like you do an excellent job at kind of explaining the context here. I did my reading up on this, and I think the reason that it sounds like a 4-track is because it was recorded through in GarageBand through an iPhone, according to Uncle Caroline. But Tanner, I feel like you're very good at distilling these things down. So what can you give us for background?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're both right. It's just
we can't both be right, Tanner. Pick one.
Okay. Uncle Carol with this record is the idea. Also, like from a blurb on the Bandcamp page, is like, I'm trying to make music diverse enough that AI can't reproduce it. So for me, that means like like the human element is still like the center of the thing in terms of the story they're telling and like the music and the lyrics and everything. And yeah, you know, recorded off of like a cell phone in GarageBand. Um, there's not a lot of polish here. It's very raw. It's very DIY. And it's very like, if you look back at Carol's records before this, they always kind of like change direction in one way or another. It's not like it's not formulaic how they change directions, but like it's just like slithering like a little snake. And like this one is just like right on par with that. Like last one was heavy, like dream pop and a very very personal album lyrically. And we've kept the personal lyrics here for the most part, but now we're super stripped back and trying to play shows at venues that are like 100 people or less, pushing back against the record industry in general as well. To me, it doesn't necessarily like sound in terms of the content of the album, but like the old Against Me stuff that we used to listen to way back in the day, those like stolen demos and like the basement shows, like that kind of aesthetic and that kind of feel, where the most important thing in these songs are the voice and like a guitar. So yeah, just like very very stripped back, intentionally stripped back, and you know, a musical statement against kind of like your Live Nation, your Ticketmaster, those kind of things.
Yeah, I heard a lot of like Big Thief in this thing too. When you talk about strip back with the, I totally hear the Against Me stuff. I hear Bright Eyes, like Jeff said. But I think it's that small scale DIY, very raw. Like, what does she say? Um, Sometimes it's nice to have a pearl before it's polished. And that is exactly what this is. And I think you get characteristic Caroline Rose energy in the most simple, like the simplicity of it is what makes it so interesting. It's just her or them and a guitar. And it just, the whole thing is carried by personality. That's all. I tried to think about these songs if they were polished and if they were produced. And I think it would have been totally fine, but I would not have these songs any other way.
There, I think it would be easy to criticize this album with, you know, a lot of the, you know, there wasn't a lot of dynamic range to it or anything, but I think when you take this for what it is, and I think it's very much just as a project, as a, you know, there was a goal set and kind of a very intentional way that she went about trying to create this. And I think lyrically, you know, I know you'd mentioned it was like not as personal. You know, I think this was just a very different kind of personal. You know, there was very much like snapshots of moments, descriptions of situations, you know, in a very small scale, you know, and not something that's meant to kind of give a lot of emotional context to things. I think it's just the emotions and kind of mood of the song with this story being told about, you know, they were at this, you know, at this party or at this certain restaurant or this little shop, and someone said this thing and they responded this way, you know. And I think out of context, you read a lyric like that and it doesn't mean a thing. You put it in context to that song, you put it with how those melodies are developing, like how those harmonies are developing, and in kind of the interplay between the people singing on the song. And then, you know, you get these moments where the guitar is a little more intense. You know, it's never intense at all on this record, but it's certainly where there is dynamic range is used very well. In just, you know, probably just striking the guitar a little bit harder, getting those strings to rattle a little bit more, and just making it feel a little bit more raw, which lends itself to the emotion that, you know, they're maybe unraveling a little bit. And you just get the sense that all of these little moments they're describing are what's building up to these bigger payoffs and these bigger things that we're supposed to be pulling from these songs.
I think this like the snapshot is a great like reference. Like these are like Polaroids almost. Like it's captured in the moment. It's not edited. Like it, like, you know, they're all with photo editing and everything like that. let's say you crank a photo edit all the way up to the 100th degree, and that was like the art of forgetting with all the layers and all of the, you know, pulsing synth and everything. And now we're coming all the way back down, and these are Polaroids of a moment. They're Polaroids of a feeling. And like you said, sometimes very specific, like the last track, Kings of East LA. This is just like a story of like a day. They're watching Indy 500. They're talking about this rodeo guy.
Mhm.
Like, you know, like that's just a snapshot of a day. And they just put it to music, recorded it, boom, there's a song.
Yeah, and I think you can. It's very easy to get very lazy with that kind of songwriting, but I think there is just a very intentional and clever way that those little snapshots were used to really kind of expound on what you're supposed to be feeling in those moments.
And I see that, and I also see the opposite side of the coin would be if you went as lush and layered and textured and thick and as over the top in the best possible way as The Art of Forgetting. If you did that with songs like these, I personally, I think you run the risk of it being like a big storming but preachy thesis that I think doing it like this, doing it as stripped down as possible, using your body as an instrument, using your voice, using your guitar, and doing like the bare minimum kind of zhuzhing and mixing and mastering at the end. I think for these songs, it really lends itself to the message that's running through this whole thing, which is like so blatantly anti-capitalist, without turning it into some kind of concept album or something, which I think it could run the risk of. I think it's an entirely different idea, probably equally as good, equally as worthy, but very different if you choose to goose this with production. I think these songs as presented, this album as presented, it's real, it's ground level. It's the difference between Iron Man and Daredevil. You got the world-ending threats and you got the ground level heroes, and this is a ground level hero. For other people, you know, this is Caroline Rose cut their teeth in the little clubs, and this is little club kind of stuff, basement tape trading stuff. They just find very, very creative ways to present their stuff. And I think this is, especially coming off the back of Art of Forgetting, like a really wild follow-up. And to self-leak this too, like the whole thing, soup to nuts, the way it was released, the way it's produced, what it's about, the things, like all of that is such a weird and wild way to follow up a traditional album release, but it's the whole concept totally fleshed out, and it works.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that Caroline Rose intentionally leaked this album on social media. She said, DM me with the word slug or the emoji with the slug emoji. And I just sent the DM. I said, slug me with the little slug emoji. Boom, got the link immediately. Started sharing it around. Like the self-leaking, it's like the DIY to the core. It's the tape trading. It's the, you know, I'm going to give this to you for free. On the, you know, expectation that when it comes out, you'll buy it off of me, and you'll buy it off me through Bandcamp, or you'll buy it from me physically. Like you'll buy a physical copy of it on I think it's just vinyl right now. Wouldn't be surprised if I saw a cassette release at some point. This seems like it's a good cassette release. Jeff, I don't know if it's gonna, yeah, Jeff, I don't know if it's gonna come out on CD.
It's got to. CDs having a renaissance too.
It would be crazy if the leak happened via CD. Send me your physical address, and in 5 to 6 business days, you'll get a CD in the mail.
That's how we should send out these podcast episodes.
Just pick random people, just mail them to.
Burn them on a disc.
We should do that with some random ones. Just pick, like, let's send them some government buildings.
Yeah, let's send one to the Pentagon and one to Rick Rubin.
Yeah, I think we got to send them to like Sandusky, Ohio. You know, they need some of those at City Hall. Let's send a stack.
Send a nice one to the Sacramento Capitol building. Hey, you guys ever heard of Get a Grip?
Of course they have. I mean, come on.
I don't know.
But I think it's really good to point out how this whole thing has gotten rolled out and released. And I think it doesn't feel like antagonistic to me. You know, it doesn't feel like it's a middle finger to anything or anything like that. But it does feel like there's, you know, it's being very real about what it's observing, you know, and what it, you know, with the capitalism, with, you know, the personal relationships and how kind of technology has interfered with developing like true like interpersonal communication with people. um you know, I think it's exposing that stuff is its form of protest, I think, against those sort of things. I think it's trying to say, like, open up your eyes, you know, look at what's going on around you and how you're being taken advantage of, how your time is being wasted with things that don't mean anything, and like truly honestly think about what those, if those things bring joy to your life. I don't think there, I never got the sense that I was being told to stop participating in any of it. It was simply presenting to me like another point of view, like another way of looking at it, maybe a way of being more honest about your place in the, like how you contribute to that, how you let that contribute to your life. um you know, I it's tough because you want things like this to get out to as massive an audience as it possibly can, but then that also kind of defeats the purpose of doing it this way. So it's a double-edged sword on kind of what you think the better way is to do that. I think the word of mouth in it, I think doing it this way, the album has to be good, right? If you start spreading this thing around like word of mouth and it's not any good, that chain's going to stop pretty quick. You know, your pyramid scheme's only going to get to floor 3 before it kind of peters out. I think with an album like this, as good as it is, that's the sort of thing that can work, because there's a whole audience of millennials that love this kind of music. Like every girl you knew in college loved Bright Eyes, loved Elliott Smith, like loved all of this really very toned down, stripped back, emotionally honest, like not complicated in its lyricism. It's not trying to like have you solve riddles or anything during this. It's just trying to give you specific situations to relate to. And back in the day, it was a lot of very emotional, like interpersonal romantic relationship issues and things like that. And here it's kind of doing that same thing, but in a much more like political kind of socioeconomic way.
Yeah, I feel like this, like the music specifically that you're talking about as well, and this album is like you could stumble into a New York coffee shop hungover as hell on like a Sunday, and a person could be up on stage with an acoustic guitar and they'd be playing this. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying like the music isn't deserving of a bigger audience or anything. I'm just saying like there are a lot of talented musicians that play those kind of one person acoustic sets at venues like that in the bigger cities that are trying to cut their teeth. So like this is very like I've heard people songs like this and try to pull this off live, and it's really glaring when it's not good. There's a big chasm between like great and I can tolerate this. Like there's not like, and this is like again like right at like this is at the top. This is some of these songs like kind of stop you for a moment with like little moments. They'll just like kind of stop you. And it's not a crazy guitar solo. It's not a crazy synth line. It's just like a way that, you know, there's like one guitar, sometimes maybe two, a little drum machine in the back, maybe. But it still has like gravitas at times. And then sometimes some of the songs are like on the goofier side too. So it's a very good balance.
Yeah. Goddamn Train.
Goddamn Train.
yeah.
Favorite song by far on the album.
Can we talk about what a goddamn hook factory this whole thing is? I mean, the first one that really hit me between the eyes was To Be Lonely.
Mm-hmm.
To be lonely. But like there's like the most simple hooks on this and lines that are repeated to great effect. Happens in To Be Lonely. We Don't Talk Anymore is such a fantastic, like absolute dagger. It's just like a never-ending hook factory.
The Another Life, fantastic too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I feel like at any given moment when you feel like it's about to just be kind of too slow for too long, they hit some big chorus or hook, some really nice like harmony line, and it just draws you right back in. I think overall, you can take away how you might feel about the content of the lyrics, like how the lyrics are written, what the rhyme schemes are, like any of that kind of stuff. Like, I think when it boils down to it, to make something this simple be this good means there's a lot of talent involved. And I think you hear, like, think of like Bruce's Nebraska album, very, very stripped back, but a lot of people consider, and a lot of people consider one of the greatest American songwriters ever, that to be one of his finest albums is probably the least amount of effort put into any of those albums as far as the production goes anyway. But I think this is good in a lot of the same ways that like Nebraska is good. And I think it tells such specific stories. Like it's not giving any like big ideas. There's certainly some you can like parse from it, but what it's telling you in strict terms and strict words are these little moments, are these little interactions between two people that either have way too much history or not enough yet. Either someone's been wronged by them or they've done wrong to them. And I think having it be so honest without getting so granular allows you to put yourself in those situations, because there's a lot of times that someone will write something very specific and they probably think it's very profound that they put it in a song, and then the general public hears it and it means nothing to them. And because it's so specific, it takes away a chance for there to have been meaning there, because it's just so abstract to most people. I think she does a great job at making sure that these concepts are not abstract. Like, there's nothing you can't wrap your head around on this album, but maybe just there's another way to look at how you interact with the world and how you allow it to interact with you.
And there's, I think, meaningful specificity to it. Like you were saying, sometimes you can get so specific that it's not necessarily relatable. It can be too much inside baseball, but I think there's wonderful specificity. And I totally agree with Nebraska. The parallel that I see it the most with is Conversation with Shiv, Liquid K song. That to me reads that's very Springsteen when you break it down. Very conversational. I don't know for sure, but I would have to imagine, at the very least, based off this, the Caroline Rose does the lyrics as poetry first and then comes up with the melody around it. I don't know that for certain. I would have to imagine so, because if you look at how conversational, and I there's just like so much you could read. But how the hell are you? I guess I'm doing fine. Hard to believe it's been such a goddamn long time. So you got another bun in the oven and you're getting an abortion, but all that pressure to get married's gone now that your grandma's dead. And it just keeps going, like, with this thought stream of consciousness. And it, again, it's very specific, but not enough to like alienate you from the story. Just from the way it starts, how the hell are you? It welcomes you in and just has a conversation with you.
It's specific in the same way Seinfeld was specific. It was very like oddball situations, but you could put yourself in every single one of those. Like, everybody could see themselves as George or Elaine or Jerry or Kramer. And I think that's what she's doing with this type of songwriting. Is it may be something very specific, and it may not be a situation you've ever specifically been in yourself, but it's written in a way that you can put yourself there, that you don't have to, maybe the situation doesn't matter. You understand the emotions that are going on between these people. You understand what that interaction means. You've had those small town conversations with people you haven't seen in a while. You know what that's like, even if you haven't said those specific words.
Yeah, and to add to the vocal, like I had made note of the vocal runs in this song specifically as well, lyrically, like how it just like a bubblegum situation, a hapless provocation by a candlelit conversation, another lonely modern layman. Like, for me, and I know Jeff isn't the biggest Costello guy, but like that's like early Costello, where he would just like roll, like the
really underselling that.
Absolutely,
really underselling that.
But like the ability to turn a phrase and just like keep the stream of consciousness going, like none of the things are connected to each other. They're just like little forward runs, boom, 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 and just like by the end of it, your head's like spinning. And it happens another time in the song, starting when losing on an 8-ball, hanging out at the outlet mall, Auntie Anne's next to the big and tall, sucking down a Four Loko, jumping naked in the reservoir, smashing bottles on a brick wall. Can you pick me up on Baltimore? Like, it's just like boom, like just like one liners, like boom, 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 and then the song like basically fucking ends.
Yeah, I'm outside Betty Ford.
The Betty Ford, yeah.
Like where Taylor Swift would write that as like, oh, we were just kids at the shopping mall and we used to do vandalism for fun. You know, like she'd write it like that. The way Caroline Rose wrote that gives you every little pang of nostalgia that you could ever need. Because we've all done exactly that. She didn't have to like say we were kids hanging out at an outlet mall. It's like you just said that conversation. She told the story with it.
And you know, it's the kind of thing where like the difference is Caroline Rose is sucking down Four Locos and jumping in the reservoir, and Taylor Swift makes music for chicks that shoplift shit at Fashion Bug. So I mean,
yeah, I want to get my Taylor Swift shit in here too.
Yeah, do it. We live for it.
To go back to Jeff's point, it would be like her lyric would be more along the lines of like, someone hand me the pink spray can, but like not saying that she's committing the crime. She's alluding to it. She's like, yeah, I was there. Someone hand me the can, but then it's her friends that are doing all the vandalism. And she's like, I was there.
My love is my vandalism. That's the kind of corny thing she would do. She wrote this 10-minute epic. Bob Dylan's Masters of War could never. It's this 10-minute egregious song where the metaphor is her virginity was a red sweater. And Jake Gyllenhaal, not specifically named in the song, but apparently Swifties know. I have a pipeline to the Swifties. I've seen them at work. It's horrifying. And this is where I get these tidbits. But apparently Jake Gyllenhaal stole the red sweater and balled it up and threw it under his bed. What a cad. What a roue. And it's just the most dog shit garbage water songwriting you've ever heard. I kept you like a secret, or you kept me like a secret, but I kept you like an oath. It's just like
that's like fake Costello stuff.
Yes,
that's the bad stuff. That's like
that's what Jeff thinks Costello is.
Costello, yeah, yeah, like that.
I think if we took a little poll, you might find more folks that agree with me on that.
Only drop the poll in Great Britain. So specifically,
see, I like that because they're cynical enough to just vote the wrong way just to spite you.
Okay,
they did it with Brexit.
Yeah,
against all good sense.
You suck.
Yeah,
we suck now.
Oh no. I feel like we got to wrap this up. So does anybody have any last thoughts on this one? And a rating? Would you stream it, skip it, or buy it?
Buy it. Buy it, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of physical copies of this made. Also kind of teased. It was like when they're out, they're out. So like buy it. And if you don't, buy it digitally. And then also buy a t-shirt from the web store. My last point, right off the bat, first time I listened to it, one line jumped right out at me. At the drive-through, 2 a.m., smoking pure, we don't hit pens. Literally our life for several years. in one line of a song, kind of like a throwaway line, just like, yeah, I'm sorry to talk about, but like literally it happened. I was like, oh, it's shit, it's us.
We would have hit pens if they had them back then.
But yeah.
But that was a great line, and I did get the same sense.
Yeah, like, oh, this is us getting 7 McChickens at McDonald's at 3 a.m.
Oh, back then, when the dollar. I remember when the dollar menu cost $1.
Dollar menu after dark. It's all still $1. It's just dark out.
That's what we have to call it when you are on the show, is dollar menu after dark. Like we should call ours dollar menu.
Dollar menu after dark. I love that. I
Deal.
love that.
It's just, yeah, deal. This is where you get your deals.
Yeah,
That's right.
this is
That's
where you
right.
get your deals.
Yeah.
Taco Bell references all over the album. This is where you get your deals. But
Yeah.
yeah, buy it, people. Buy it. Listen to it a million times. Tell a friend. Tell 10 friends.
I'm also going to say buy it. I thought this album was great. Not what I was expecting. Love it when I get surprised in a good way. This one certainly did it. So yeah, buy it.
Well, Uncle Carol's going for the hat trick tonight because I'm also saying buy it. It looks like the first 300 people that signed up got a signed copy that is already sold out. But it looks like you can still buy the vinyl. We're like hard shilling for Caroline Rose on an anti-capitalist album that was self-distributed.
Someone's got to
but
do it.
Someone's got to do the hard work. Listen, we'll come right in. We'll vulture right in on you, Carol. Don't worry about it. We'll get it done. Guys, get it done. Yeah, I think people are always going on about like the importance of physical media. And like, this is one of those instances where I think that's absolutely true. If you can buy it and download it, that's great. But having it on vinyl, this is one of those things where I think every vinyl owner allows themselves that pretentious moment where they go 20 years from now, someone's going to come to my house that I own, that I bought with my own money. And they're going to walk into my music nook and they're going to see my vinyl collection and they're going to go browsing through the spines and they're going to pick one out and they're going to go, no fucking way. I can't believe you have this. Let's put it on right now. This is legendary. And you're the coolest for having it. And I think Year of the Slug could very well be one of those future generations record collection diamonds. So immediately, it's great songwriting. It's intimate. It's funny. It's simple but effective. Go out and buy in some format Year of the Slug.
Yes. And you can also buy some more episodes. And where can they find those, Alex?
Oh, Jesus. Well, Tanner, I'm going to need your help on this one. I'm not going to like totally put you on the spot, but I can't quite remember the URL. Do you remember it off the top of your head?
Your website?
Oh, no.
It's POR. Type that into Google,
HUB.
actually. No, just type the first word into Google. You'll get there.
Well, of course, I was referring to...
Folks, it's youtube.com. I know. It's at Out on That Line.
youtube.com/C/out on that line. You've got me doubting my own bit now.
I'm looking at it right now.
I just completely... I was like, not to spring it on you, Tanner.
I got it pulled up. I got it done.
Well, we had to find some way to make him uncomfortable this episode.
I'm gonna put the link right here. And now that's extra work for you, editor man. You gotta put the link there. Yeah.
God damn it.
Oh, that is beautiful. Tanner, we thank you for joining us as always here on Out on That Line. And folks, until next time.